So you, from the dizzy heights of DRL, would you be willing to be involved in this?
You look happy.
We still have to understand a little bit better what's going on.
No, that's the trouble.
We are quite close in our own space and not really involved in the activities of the AA in general, to be honest. So we are kind of a community inside of a bigger community.
Yes.
I sometimes see you forlorn and lament across the balcony, someone having a cigarette on your own private balcony, I think. How do I get there?
Well, that is the problem, though, that graduate school is so distant.
Actually, it's like,
maybe it's our problem.
I don't know why is it like that, because...
Well, I think one of the biggest problems is that you're here for a year, whereas we kind of know each other for 5 years.
Yeah.
Or two.
It's a problem, right?
It's not a problem.
No, well, I mean, if you all know Bernard Tschumi's diagram for Laviette, don't you? Distributed programs. So if Brett did that, then there'd be a little bit of everything all over the property. So that there might be some DRL students over there and some first year over there.
It's just that we work in teams. It's a collaboration, and the amount of work expected is also a lot. So we tend to just be within our community as such, but because the graduate courses are in a different building, it's kind of like people never come up to the first floor or second floor.
Can we just like rock up and just
of course.
Just around?
Yeah,
that's when you feel like you can. I mean,
I've done that before, and I got some really weird looks.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, what are you doing here? Almost
we have another meeting.
Maybe it could be.
Meeting up
I think I
there.
was trying to use the microwave.
Anyway, I've been feeling very much like your question, what's the point of it all, because everybody keeps dropping out. Only for 4 members of staff, this archive, where people go to the archive and the work they select will prompt a discussion. There's only 4 out of all the people I've emailed here. But Saskia, Natasha, Matthias Tutor called Leizane, do you know? No. Hugo, Sandra, so that's 5, and I thought probably about 8, between 8 and 10. So I don't know whether any of you would be interested in that. The project is to, we're sort of examining the AA's reputation for experiment, which it tends to be a lot of experiment going on, and to look at, first of all, to look into the past, which is all in the archive. And you go to the archive and select a piece of work which you think sort of epitomises the AA's reputation, which is one of the reasons why you're here, isn't it? You're not here because it has a very good undergraduate management committee that keeps everything in order. You come here for the kind of work which you think is done. The work that's selected, Ed is perfectly willing for it to be pinned up for the day in one of those side rooms. It's a sort of temporary one-day exhibition.
Would the people who select it then present it in some way?
Then the idea is then they try to explain why they selected it, and then they have, hopefully, then that will set off a discussion.
So is this within a room and then live streamed out to the old new soft room and the real presentation and whatever else?
It could just
kind of live
be
broadcast event.
Why can't it just be private? Like just the people who are in the room.
I don't know, because there's so many cameras, you might as well stream it.
Could you, because I was listening to you speaking last week, do you have to do a broadcast of things?
I've got to do a performance of some kind next year, yeah. But I think we should all learn how to broadcast via satellite imaging. In some, who was it?
Well, if we're going to broadcast it, then it could be anywhere, couldn't it?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf just got married on Facebook Live to a girlfriend in a shotgun wedding in Las Vegas, and he broadcast it on Facebook. So all we need is a mobile phone, and we can put it up around the school with projectors.
I just sort of asked the question, in a way, why are you here and not at Oxford Brookes or Bartlett? East London, or are you here? Why am I here? Why is the staff here? That's the question.
I was speaking with Zach, who graduated from the Design Make course at Hook about a year and a half ago, and is now on the teaching staff. And he's the only teaching staff member there who's not doesn't have any admin responsibilities. So he's thinking quite newly about the whole place as a teaching space, and the current situation with Hook is you have to kind of book a week out of their calendar well in advance. We do a unit. You've all got to go down at the same time, and it's kind of sticks with the fiefdom system that we're talking about here. But he was saying, why isn't there a kind of 2-week open window in the Hook Park calendar where you can pitch a kind of explorative thing you want to do for a week or two, and then you get like 15, 20 people who aren't sharing the unit to do whatever they want, in groups, alone, in a big group, whatever. But I thought as a motion it's quite in keeping with what we're talking about here. I don't know, it could be a nice thing to launch as an idea, and I think Zach would be willing to launch it as an idea in Open Jury Week.
And what, he has a unit in the intermediate?
No, he's teaching a Hook.
Design
Make, which has expanded to 2 courses now.
Also, just quickly for the Wednesday event, for the food thingy-majingy, do we have a budget?
Dude, you said cold feet at the beginning of the thing.
Pardon?
Yeah, we're going to get into cold feet about the banquet.
Yeah, I've got such a bad, I didn't know, that's just my nature. I'm sorry, I may as well tell you, it's just my nature.
No, that's right.
I get really big downers. But if you're all confident about it, that's fine, then I'll get confident.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
Yeah?
What's it about? I don't know, try and make them
What's
sing
the principle was that instead of having
Thea wants to know
a
where
jury
we are.
per se, you just have a table, a big table that throughout the whole day serves breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's
I was
just like
having
fluctuating
trouble
people
sleeping
kind of
last
sit
night,
down
working
and
out the
stuff.
logistics of it. If you don't have a set time when you've got to get everyone down and bring out like constant dynamic shifting people and getting them plates of soup.
Who's making
porridge,
the food?
and rice.
The sort of
porridge,
style would be
and
what
bolognese.
we do.
We
Yeah.
Why don't we just all go to the Hare Krishna temple together at the same time?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. There's like
Good idea.
500 people.
But maybe like a group of us needs to volunteer to think about a certain thing, and so like sit down and work out a menu that works, like exactly bolognese, and certain things can be just like dished out
Are
constantly.
you allowed to roast a pork?
Oh, I'm not.
No.
Sort of like,
So like think of things that like food, like if you have pasta, there's like you make it and then there's like a window of when it's kind of good.
What I'm more concerned about is, do we have a budget at all for that?
I have no idea.
For the banquet. Thing.
How much you got left
I'll
to
know
do
later
from
on
the
how much money I've got.
Alright, perfect.
I know because Student Forum has about £50 left for the year.
50? That's more than me.
About, yeah.
Sophia, would you be able to speak to Pascal then?
If we had a budget and we had a plan.
Oh, I see. He really likes it. There. Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, in the meantime, let's fire up.
But this is easy to do though.
Right.
This is quite satisfying to do.
But if it's open,
Yeah.
how are you going to control it?
Well, that was the sort of what's that in terms of who's standing up and sitting down and eating. I think the plan was
People
just that you
leaving.
make enough for
What, for 200 people?
no for just the table,
Just the table.
and then you have a meal that you can serve like on plates and bowls, so that it is one portion
Mashed
in a
potato.
way, and then it just you might not get a full
Just
lunch. You might just have a
Just mashed potatoes.
and and then
Yeah.
leave because you got to go for something.
But I mean, something like this could work too. Just like baguette, cheese, fruit.
Yeah.
Bang
The
it
issue
on
with
mash.
that though is that I think like everybody can, if you're standing up, you can lean over.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's like you have to kind of feed everybody.
Yeah,
If it kind of comes on a plate, it's like okay, that's my food.
right.
But the point is somehow to combine discussion,
Yeah.
lecture, and food together in one
Yeah.
Does there need to be the lecture element? Just discussion and food is like
discussion. And
food makes discussion happen. That's one.
Yeah.
I thought the aim of
What
the
about
food was to
booze?
stop people using computers.
What?
Well, it's part of it. Yeah.
That's partial aim, I guess.
For sure.
No, we just put bread there, cheese there. Stop.
Phones in a box. Yeah. big one.
There's a couple of people disappeared from last week, but they were saying that formality was quite an interesting part.
Yeah, that's what I kind of think.
Whereas if you do put that there, then it's just like a buffet, or it's like a student party, or any other party, and then people just fall back into certain ways.
Yeah.
But if you jar it with a kind of formality, an awkward formality, or actually some organisation.
I thought on Wednesday there are no presentations happening, no, so it's just...
There's supposed to be three, and then was somebody going to do a lecture on experiment from a theoretical point of view. What does it mean? How might it mean something to a scientist or to an architect or an artist? And that was the lecture that was going to be interrupted by Stefan, but he's not here. Well, I thought there'd be these places marked on the table, and each place would have like a microphone. I don't know how many mics there are, and the ability to project from their laptop over there during the discussion.
In terms of the meal, also we could invite, somehow pose the question to each unit that someone in their group would be appointed chef if they were interested in joining, and maybe the table has 10 seats and they make a dish based on their unit, or in some way loosely connected to their unit for 10 people that has to be served in a bowl, and that one person from the unit is like the chef, and they somehow describe their unit through one dish.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think, in a sense, my feeling about this in terms of a big meal for everybody is that the fewer people there are in charge of
so in
things,
it, if we can get 3 different units to agree to do this, 3 people do it. One does breakfast, one does lunch, one does dinner, and they're only cooking for 10 people, so they have to make a pot of, I don't know, noodle salad is one person's idea that they want to make.
Yeah, sure.
But maybe they'd have some kind of creative idea of a dish. Maybe they think they're
units represented.
Yeah.
So you are it. I think you are in the pilot seat, so you're the pilot. You are from a DRL. They're the ones from DRL. So would you speaking for DRL? Well, you're not really.
Oh, we've got more people. Arriving, a few more guests.
Hello. Hello. You brought Theo. Yes, we've just been trying to sort out this, well, 2 events actually. One on the Friday. And Wednesday is archive.
Yeah.
Then hopefully computers.
Yeah.
Followed by what is experiment.
Yeah.
They'd be sitting at the table.
Yeah.
But not necessarily together, you know.
There are some DRL students here. Not that they need to be DRL.
Oh, more DRL.
But I think like it would be really useful. Like I'm really serious about inclusion. Like if it is about student response and student engagement, there has to be made an effort, I think, to bridge this kind of strange divide between grad and undergrad and these things. I think it just really creates a platform for you guys to also get to know each other, which I think is actually a real advantage of this place.
Why is it even that the program says undergrad versus graduate? Like, why is there the distinction between the programs? Like, why don't we just call this part 1, part 2, DRL?
That's what we're trying to do. It's how do you do it? I mean, one thing is you do it without. We're trying to construct an event where the tutors aren't there, so the students can actually talk to each other without feeling that there's a tutor over their shoulder.
Can I be honest? Do the students need you to arrange that for them?
No.
Is there anything keeping you guys from the AA to really get to know each other or to speak to each other? I'm just basically mentioning that because I know that I'm sure this is going to become a very overly elaborate choreography of things, but at the heart of this stuff, it's about conversation and ideas and experimentation. And if the idea of utopia is something that we should discuss, that's great too. But the framework, I think, for this should be really direct. And I think it shouldn't come with any real bias, if I'm honest. It should come as a mechanism to actually build some understanding. Everybody keeps trying to talk about what the AA should be, but to be honest with you, for me, that's all opinion. And your opinion matters just as much as anybody else's. But at the heart of it, I don't think everybody actually really knows what the AA is today. So maybe discovering each other and discovering the frameworks that some of your tutors are also setting up for you, I think is also pretty valuable. Like, what motivates them to teach the things that they're teaching with you?
Email addresses.
It's just things that I guess resonate with me, more from the educational framework in this context. Yeah. But I think it actually has a direct effect about what you guys do after here.
It's how to do it. I mean, one suggestion, which we nearly agreed on, was that the people that are here, since they've come here, express an interest, they take charge of it. And that what they don't know anything about each other's work unless they're in the same unit. And that they could swap work and talk about it in a sort of informal context.
My feeling is that they could do that anyway. My feeling is that, to be honest with you, you're a huge asset in this place because of your sincerity, and I think you should just basically dictate what should happen. Because actually you're not tied to any kind of thought process or framework, and I think you celebrate all the diversity. And honestly, from my perspective, and I apologize for throwing a monkey wrench on this, but I mean, you did agree.
Your style is quite informal, no?
Yes.
I sent an email.
So I quite like the idea of having nice spot, really amazing food.
Yeah.
Where people start talking over.
I think we should just make this a supper club that anyone can come to and talk with each other, and there's an interesting meal.
When you say about graduate, undergraduate get together, the moment you say that, then become called institutional.
Yeah. The only way to avoid that is when it comes from students. You know, in a way, the thing I've been asked to do, I say people should do anyway. You shouldn't have to be told to do. You should have an interest. You say, oh, I don't know what goes on in the DRL and they're up there. Well, go and find out, you know.
I think if you want to really know what's going on, you have full access to know that. And I think if you really want to participate and make use of this framework and not make this like every other place, you actually have to take initiative. And I think otherwise these kind of formal exercises actually are completely meaningless to me.
But I think the idea that is one of the ideas that's been suggested, one of having a meal, and that a bunch of students organise a dinner and have a big table, is quite, anyone can turn up to it. The idea is that it lends a certain kind of non-institutional quality to a kind of way in which just individuals sit themselves down at this table and start eating together. And eating is also a very good way of getting people to talk to each other, not in a kind of lecture format where we tell each other what we're doing. So I think there's something that can be done.
But why don't we do this every week or every month, instead of just on Wednesday?
But I think
is our meeting instead of coming here and just sitting here and talking about what we'll do, we'll just do that.
I don't have an issue with supper or these things. My point is you guys are programming a series of events. The motivation behind that, the beginning of it is dialogue. But beyond dialogue, it's this idea of does experimentation still exist in the school? This was David's first question to me. And to be honest with you, I think we can sort of play with formats and mediums, but at the heart of it, this is like a belief system. You believe that this place matters and it has certain things. What does it have? It has people. If you sit at a dinner table, we can have a nice dinner and we can have some chat. But what's the bigger objective? What are we really discussing? Who's sitting at the table actually matters. Are you trying to forge conversations that actually are not happening? Like, is PV sitting there and I'm sitting across from him? Is Sam Jacobs over there? Is Shin there? Is David here? Is John Fraser there? What's the subject of the conversation? You're hosting, let's say us. What do you want to talk about?
I think maybe quite important question to ask is that maybe when you ask about these experimentations happening, probably not only the AA, but maybe generally, why there really real experimentation taking place now in the world.
Well, yes, I mean, you could argue in architecture it isn't.
Could rely on the school to run the experimentation, because maybe some point is real experimentation only takes place in places of crisis. or maybe school is the only place you can come. Probably it's different. Also, I think what you meant by experimentation is more general, in a way, comparing different units, say, well, who's doing what experiment. Otherwise, it just becomes comparison between units, I believe.
Well, my reason was very simple, really. When you interview students who want to come here, they invariably, you say, why do you want to come here? I've never had a student, in fact, who had the guts to say, why are you here? Why are you here? But anyway, they always said, I want to experiment, I want to be different, I want to challenge my creativity, that sort of thing. And you say, well, that's actually much more difficult than you think. So I thought, well, it's about time we actually examined this myth. I think it's a sort of myth that surrounds the AA.
That's what we've organized today. 3 different ways, starting from next week, that we're going to house these conversations. There's lunch, there's a cross-unit discussion inside of each other's diploma units. It's a closed group, so people attend the meeting. And the third?
It was the archive exercise.
Archive exercise.
Students and
They maybe seem arbitrary or nothing to do with experiment, but the point of this session seems to be at least organize 3 starting points, beginning from next week. From there, I'm presuming they will have a secondary date organized. I don't think this is experimental at all, but at least we have somewhere to meet. I think everyone's put their email down, so you'll all receive further details of exact timings and the rooms.
I think the idea is that because what happened at Open Jury last year, with these discussions with all the tutors, like maybe there were sometimes 15 tutors representing 15 units around the table trying to discuss something, and it became very sort of even because it's so many people that and all this huge audience, and everyone sort of ends up just being polite to each other and agreeing about things and saying, So those events, it was felt, ended up being slightly too too nice, maybe. And somehow there's something about getting a limited number of people into a room when they can just sort of loosen up a bit and actually argue with each other. So the idea was that we could have a series of rooms in which it wasn't exactly closed, but the door was open. But there's a limited number of people discussing the unit's work, and also not discussing their own work, but trying to interpret, as it were, other units' work.
The idea of closed is not really that it's closed. I think that word can be misleading. It was just that the feeling is more of a private kind of discussion, even though the door is open and anybody can come in. So
but I think there were 2 different sort of things that we were trying to achieve. One is a more like that, a debate about the question of experimentation, and more this discussion of students' work around a table. That's more addressing a different issue, which is we don't know what's going on in other units. So it's not so much. That's not really so much maybe about experimentation. That's more about saying, well, as you said, we should be doing that anyway, but we're not. So this is an attempt to do it.
My point to you is, you have this guy here, and I'm being really honest. I came here as a student. There was a time when I think a lot of people didn't even know that he was teaching here. He's been a provocateur to me. He's also the same person that told me that he hated DRL when I was a really young guy. And now he seems to be not necessarily converted, but he's been always prodding and asking questions, and I always have a very deep respect for his honesty and sincerity. And I really do believe that if you guys were smart, and I'm not saying you're not, so don't misrepresent me in your recordings, you would take advantage, set the stage for a debate about issues that you think are important. I'm going to say this again, I really don't give a shit about food at the table, I don't care about free drinks. I really do care actually what the community thinks about certain ideas. The community means you guys, the community means other people that are not in this room. Of course you need a platform to put some of these ideas together, but I think there could be just a handful of thematics in conversation with this man, if you allow me to say that, because it's an opportunity.
I would absolutely agree. I mean, I think that this is just a mechanism to facilitate any of those discussions. I mean, truly the reason that we're all here is that I think everybody shares the sort of agreement that, for the most part, other than within groups of friends at the moment, say, you might not even get to the stage where you have a chance to discuss what it is that you're passionate about with somebody, or prodded to actually define what that passion is, or the limits of it, or like why it is that you care about it so much. I think, like at the moment, that's kind of the case because everybody tends to stay within their studio, or maybe that's just.
That's your generation.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, I mean, there's a reason that we're all sitting in this room, and that's because we've all decided that there may be, if there is a mechanism or a set of events or something that just triggers, like, it might just spiral out into something completely informal. But truly, I mean, if that's the case, and it starts to just generate its own sort of discussions, that's enough in a way. I mean,
I don't know if that's enough. I think that's a start.
Start.
I think a start is a good place.
But I think if you do something really purely, truly experimental, means that maybe you don't know what you're doing. So then how do you present something you don't know what you're doing? And more debate you have, sometimes it kills something really important in the format or articulation, because
you just sort of never know really what you're doing.
Out of interest, is there a basic general agreement among everyone that experimentation is a good thing?
Well,
is that something that we all sort of think, or
I'm sure.
I'm not sure I do.
No,
you say no.
I'm not sure.
I mean, that's great.
So, but I'm just wondering, because there's a sense in which, like, are we trying to, like, is there something, is the purpose of this sort of group or whatever, or things that it's discussing, to put forward an idea that they believe in, or just simply to discuss things because they don't know what they believe in, which is maybe a
or both. Answer your question in one way. It's not about certainty or uncertainty. It's about stating that that's a theme that is going to create a framework to allow people to discuss it. It doesn't mean that you're going to get all the wiser. You may be converted in a very different way, or your foundation may be shaken to think about it in a radically different way by some of the conversations you have with someone else.
What I thought was exciting about what might be happening is, from people that are studying architecture and involved in architecture, is making a temporary architectural structure, which could be a meal, that houses a space to have conversations and to have this experimentation. And I thought it was something to do with that. So this is actually some of the work now you're building at the moment. That's how I understood it.
That's how the meal is not just us going to a restaurant and having a meal. The meal is something, as you say, it's like something that you construct. It's something that everyone is part of. People are part of making it happen, organising it, arranging it, cooking it. It becomes a sort of performance in a way that includes people. And it's not just sitting around and having dinner. So, but yes, there is something a bit bourgeois about it. But then, what are we all doing here in the AA? I mean, we're all relatively bourgeois, aren't we? So
this could be more like a Nata Clark food event. Not everything necessarily needs to be edible. You curate something because you basically are trying to instigate and to provoke.
I think that's more
interesting.
More the idea. Yes, it's more of a kind of provocation. It started by, I think, about in sort of cafes, tables, people come and go. So it would be an event. I think this, as I understand, people would be coming and going, and occasionally somebody would raise an issue which would then be discussed, and it would become more stationary, and then it would kind of disperse. So it was a bit theatrical. But you see already in the way it's working, because how many of us would have ever sat and talked together?
But it's, I think, important to have conversations that necessarily we're not always so comfortable with. I think that should be part of your agenda.
But because you wanted to people argue.
Yeah, I always want people to argue. But then why do you want that? I mean, like, no, seriously, I do find like something. No, because it tends to be more interesting, I think, personally.
I think, remember, you were arguing in arguments, but Dennis used to tell me, Dennis, that sometimes you tease each other or argue, like your tomato, electronic tomato, was a drawing as out of a teasing.
Yes.
So I think that's maybe you're trying to say.
Yeah, yeah,
Positive
no,
argument is a teasing, and that's maybe we need
I
to
don't want
do
people
that.
to fight.
And these like have content, these graphics, really nice.
Jerry
And
Springer.
have ideas.
This shouldn't become a theater of the
Yeah.
absurd.
Even just to discuss would be the huge experiment. How do you do that? How long is it going to take?
I mean,
Because I knew about the area, but it may take like maybe 6 months for me to really understand what's going on. Then I maybe have to become a student.
I think we never really thought that we were.
So I do quite like the idea of not just do it one event or open week. It's maybe just a series of kind of
could be
things, maybe progress or something. Might be just completely invisible all the way through. Without nobody noticing.
But within DRL, there are sort of 3 or 4 different streams, aren't there?
Yeah, we argue all the time.
It's not one monolithic.
No, I mean, we couldn't be arguing more.
So is there, so Shin, by that, do you mean that in a way, enough of something to achieve is simply to understand what's going on in the rest of the school? Is that enough?
Well,
like, in other words, if the point is to know what DRL is doing, and for DRL to know what is happening in this unit, and for TV to know what's happening in it, is that enough that we just know what's going on? We understand each other's units.
Your experience is about developing work that is going to change that landscape outside. And so I think, yes, it's a good intuition to want to talk about work, but I think it's not something that you just put a couple of objects on the table. That's something that I agree, you guys should have sessions that you guys can come and discuss and use each other's knowledge.
So call that a small goal, and if we can do that too, then that's good.
Bigger
And
goal
yes,
is to get some staff together to debate some of these ideas, because maybe things are getting a little bit too comfortable.
Something I was thinking about was that debate and argument are somehow only meaningful if there's something at stake.
There's a lot at stake.
But what is at stake? So one of the problems is that
look outside.
in this school, in the world of architecture, there is now such a plurality of ideas, and we've reached a point where all ideas, we all think. No, they're not. But a lot of people, I think, have asked, would say that all the units here are interesting, and they're all doing different things, and they maybe choose this unit because they prefer it, but they don't think that the other unit's doing something actually wrong. You know, no one would want to say that it was wrong. You know, so but you're only willing to say that a unit is wrong if you really think there's something at stake. If it's actually bad that they're doing that, somehow they're hurting the world. But that's how you have to really feel that that's at stake. You know, and I don't know whether enough people do.
No, but I think you're making it into bad versus good. And I think
not bad versus good, but like you have to feel there's something that's.
Of course, and if you don't, and everything is cool and everything is dandy, then I don't know what.
But how many people? I would just be interested to know how many students really feel like they feel that strongly about the state of things.
You could ask my students when I'm not here if they signed up to a course that they feel is embodying certain motivation and belief or not.
But I think maybe again there are two things, because like in our first meeting we discussed this thing about getting tutors to really discuss each other's ideas, and then the students not merely watch but are part of that and interrogate and become part of the discussion with the tutors. But it was felt by other people in the meeting in that first one that was a bit tutor-centric, that it's all about what, let's find out what the tutors think, and let's, I actually agree that I think it would be interesting to do that. I would like to see the tutors argue with each other and be part of the argument, not simply watch it happening. I think it's important that it's not just the students, but I think then the other thing that we can try and do is maybe more addressed to the students. That was maybe what the dinner was trying to be more at that end, and also people from outside the AA. So the dinner, David suggested inviting these people who are not actually here now, from the past, maybe just from people who are associated, and so that's much more students in a way looking out the school. But I think so maybe we can do both. But I do think it would be useful to be able to get tutors to really defend themselves in front of students. But I think formality has consumption. I mean, for example, this dinner that we were thinking of, well, the all-day meal event. one of the things that would be maybe disruptive about it is that it's actually quite formal. That you don't simply have chip sandwiches or go to a restaurant or whatever. You kind of create a slightly oddly formal event where we serve like waiter. You know, it has a slightly theatrical quality. So you use formality as a slightly disruptive thing. The problem with a lecture is that people are also on their best behaviour. And so, and they're aware that it's somehow public, and they want to present an image which is relatively kind of slightly sanitized. When architects talk about their work in public lectures, you don't hear about the client who smashed a model in fury. You know, but maybe you hear about that when you sit down at a table. I mean, that is again why the bar was, historically, so important to the AA. I believe. I don't know much about AA history like that, but it is that somehow, you know, Cedric Price gets drunk and discusses things in a way that he maybe wouldn't in a, I don't know about Cedric Price actually, but but I mean, alcohol is actually a surprisingly important probably element in having a certain kind of discussion, because you sort of just, people can let rip in a way, in a not, it doesn't have to be informal like just in someone's house, but given a, like, this is maybe why we were using this word closed earlier, is that if it's entirely open, it's very, you have to be very careful. If you have a certain sense that the door is shut, you can say things that you can't say otherwise. And so there's something there.
I've been here long enough to know that you say something here, and in 2 seconds it's migrated all the way through like a virus in this place. I don't think that that's an issue about safety of what you say. It's belief in what you mean.
So then maybe, but then like, because we were trying to think, why did the open jury event last year fail? So one of the analyses was maybe it's formality. So like, we're trying to get at the things that made it fail to correct it. What can you, if you think of it as an experiment, that was an experiment and it failed, so what are the criteria that you could try and...
Most experiments fail, and you also have to have the courage to understand that failure should be a big part of this.
Yeah, so great that it failed last year, now we can try and make it work. You still have to try and make it work, you don't just say it failed.
My point is you've had no connection to that event other than it's happening in the same week. You have an opportunity to construct an event, working with David and with the colleagues that he's bringing in. And that's an opportunity. You could focus a lot about what didn't work or work, but that doesn't seem to me to be really...
But that's why we're trying to do something different, is because that didn't work. Maybe try something more informal, because it didn't work. Try something in a studio space with a pile of drawings in it.
The last meeting is David and who else was there?
Yes, we've got to try to wind this up.
Wind it up. I think that's why you invited me.
Why every unit and every part of the school has to communicate? Maybe
well, they don't, because I can show you the list. They don't communicate. But they don't even say, I don't want to communicate. I would rather somebody say, that is a really stupid idea. Well, actually, Tom Weaver said that. He said there's already too many lectures at the AA for no particular purpose. He said it's just a kind of supermarket of lectures and presentations that do nothing. And he thought there was no experimental work at the AA, and he thinks that the only experimental period at the AA was pre-archigram, pre-Alvin Boyarsky, in other words, like the 50s, when you have people like Patrick Hodgkins and Peter Smiths and that generation of the Grant Group. And so that's the view he takes, but he wouldn't. I said, well, why don't you come along and express that view?
I just guessing from Alvin's interview previously taken, but he was saying that part of the unit system is that he just want to close off, because otherwise they would just constantly argue. So they just do some integral.
Yeah, I can understand. Well, there are always different ways of doing the same thing, aren't there?